Hi everyone, and welcome back to Nibs, the podcast. I'm your host, Milanist.
And I'm Paul Antonio, and this is where we discuss
Calligraphy, lettering, and sign painting. Here we are, Paul, officially the third episode, I guess.
second episode.
No, last week we recorded the second.
Oh yeah, the third episode. Okay.
Oh, your memory is not good. Okay.
I'm ill, Milan.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, you actually last week you got vaccinated.
Yeah, I did. My arm's really hurting.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But in today's week episode, we'll continue talk about how to start calligraphy. We'll talk also about tools and
what your favorite script is.
Yes, that's cool. Okay, so we continue with how to start calligraphy. Right, we start with this topic first.
Yes.
So
last time we started talking about how we both started, and maybe this time I'll talk a little bit about how I start students off.
Okay, that'd be cool.
So what I tend to tell people, because people say, "Oh, I want to learn calligraphy." That's great. You want to learn calligraphy. What kind of calligraphy do you want to learn?
Oh, this beautiful one with the.
And so that's your starting point.
Okay.
It's not just about picking up a tool and writing with it. You have to
Me,
not us, you need to do some research, because you contact people and say you want to start calligraphy, but you have no idea what you're asking. What script do you want to start with? Is it a pointed nib script? Is it a broad edge nib script? Is it a marker? Is it a flanged tool like an oblique holder? Is it a brush pen? What type of brush pen? So, do some research. You'll find that if you ask a calligrapher, how do I start brush copperplate? You'll get a much easier response, because then we're not having to guess what you're trying to figure out. Take some time, do some. So the best way to do it is do a search for calligraphy online, and you'll see lots of stuff come up. Chances are, unfortunately, it'll mostly be modern calligraphy. But the reason why I say unfortunately is because it's not a proportionate screen grab. And look through what you're seeing. So if you do a search for calligraphy, mostly modern calligraphy comes up on the screen. You don't see a lot of brush lettering. You don't see different types of brush lettering. You don't see different types of broad edge scripts. You don't see ruling pen scripts. You don't see historical scripts. So you'll need to scroll down a little bit, and from there, take a little screen grab and say, oh, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one. And once you figure out what you sort of like,
or just go to Calligraphy Masters and see all the different posts.
or go to Calligraphy Masters and see all the different. That's a good thing, Milan.
Yes.
Maybe that's a really good thing we should do on Calligraphy Masters. We should do a little, this is this, this is this, this is this, this is this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember
it. Okay, I'll write it down.
Yes.
Number 455 to remember for Milan.
Okay, come on, Paul. Am I really that bad?
Oh, I'm only kidding. We're only at about 200. So once you figure out what you like, there's no point in you learning something you don't like, because you will not invest the time in it. So once you figure out what you like, it might be based on, and don't forget, this is based on you. It is based on what you like, not what I like or what Milan likes. It's a script that you are attracted to. Now, just be careful, because if it's about the color, it's a problem. Gold, and people see pretty colors and they're like, oh, I want to learn that, and they don't actually like the script, right? So look at the script. What is the script telling you? Can you feel it? Can you feel it around your heart? Because when you look at a script, sometimes you feel it, because calligraphy is centered around our heart chakra. It's centered to the way that we love ourselves, because it has a rhythmic resonance with humans, because our societies wouldn't exist if we didn't write. So writing is a big part of the human condition.
Society
look,
wouldn't exist if we didn't write. This sounds so cool. That's the quote of the week, Paul.
so start off with trying to feel what's happening around your heart. You look at a script and you're like, oh, that's lovely. Or you look at it and you go, oh, no. Immediately go for the one that you love and then do some research. What is this? And then you have a better sense of what you're looking to learn. Once you understand what you're looking to learn, you can figure out what the tools are. And once you can figure out what the tools are, you can get started on the learning process. Don't say to somebody, oh, I really want to learn calligraphy, because we have no idea what you want to learn. So the responsibility really is on you. You have to figure out what it is you want to learn. From there, you can figure out the tools, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Tools, which is possibly nib, ink, paper, or it might be a brush pen. Remember, not all brush pens work with every piece of paper. So, and then from there, you can make a decision on who to follow. Obviously, follow Calligraphy Masters and me and Milanist. But just don't message Milan, okay?
No, what the? You're making me curse again, right?
You can message Calligraphy Masters, but don't message Milan, okay? And so there's tons of calligraphers out there. There's tons of team members in the Calligraphy Masters team who do lots of different scripts. Mm-hmm. And once you start to figure out what you like, it might not even be calligraphy that you like. Mm-hmm. It might be calligraffiti, or it might be something as crazy as Callifuturism, which is what Puckrosser is really well known for. And Puckrosser's work is, the biggest problem with Puckrosser's work is it's like a big hook, and he throws it out and he hooks you, and that's it. You're like, wow, I want to learn this. Puckrosser's work is really different. It will really rope you in, and then that's what you're fixated on. So
you like Puckrosser's work? Actually,
oh my God, I love Puckrosser's work.
That's cool.
It really is so innovative and really forward thinking. And I when I was finishing up Reigate, I wanted to write like Brody Neuenschwander, or I wanted to write like Thomas Ingmeier, and I wanted to do the work that Dennis Brown does, and their stuff is so contemporary, real contemporary calligraphy.
Yes.
And I sort of had to make a decision. I sat myself down and I thought, you know what? You're not going to live for 500 years. You only have 60 years at most. So
really,
pick something. Unless they figure out these telomere, how to retie the telomeres and extend human life. I thought pick what you love and concentrate on it. No, my path to calligraphy is very, very different to many people. I trained as a calligrapher. I trained to read manuscripts. So I have both a very academic and practical and physical practical writing structure.
Also, I think it's important for people to know that when they want to start calligraphy, a big amount of the calligraphy online, we exclude Paul Antonio because he's really one of the very few people who never speeds up his calligraphy. But my point is, a lot of people, they think you need to write super fast, or that it is very easy. First of all, calligraphy, it's not, you're not writing it as fast as most of you probably have seen videos of. And second of all, it's not as easy as it looks. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of love for calligraphy, for letters, dedication, and not giving up. Those are things that you don't see in the videos. You see the beautiful results. Yeah, that can hook you, but even before you consider starting, keep in mind you need a lot of determination, consistency, and love for this in order to happen. I think.
Those posts that you see us do, you're only seeing one post. You're not seeing the 10 or 12 times that we've tried to get it looking beautiful. You're only seeing the one beautiful bit. So that's not just time, it's also tools and materials and paper and frustration. And what you're seeing in that 60 seconds on Instagram or, you know, a 10-minute section is on YouTube is not just that. So Milan makes a really great point about being aware that, you know, it takes patience. If you think you're just going to sit there and magic will happen, you know, I know lots of people look at a pen staff and think a wand, right? You know, but it's not a wand. It's not magic. It takes time and patience. So once you figured out the script, my direction is this, and this mightn't appeal to a lot of you, but this is where my students find that they love my teaching because of this. I do a lecture on the Tuesday. So my workshops are on a Sunday, and I do a lecture on the Tuesday covering the history of the script. So I talk about the history of the script, where it comes from, where it sits in the pantheon of calligraphy, of calligraphic letter forms, why it looks the way it looks, how it evolves, because I feel that having that kind of historical background really gives you context for the learning. Now, some of you might just be interested in writing pretty letters, and that's fine. If your interest is just to make pretty letters, then great. Then at least you have an interest. If your interest is to make really accurate letter forms, that's a very different path you're taking. So, you know, there's quite a lot around this topic about getting started with calligraphy. And then once you get to the point where you're ready to write, you know what it is, you mightn't know the tools and materials. You'd be surprised how many of us will actually help you if you come to us and say, I like this script, and how do I find this, you know, the information for this? There's a ton of content online.
But
There's
Paul,
a ton of content on Calligraphy Masters.
Be very careful what you say. Like, you ask people to come and ask, but I mean,
but what is the worst? What is the worst somebody can say to you?
it's
no.
No. But what I mean is just don't go spam people. Like, if you
No,
want,
don't spam. Oh no, don't spam people.
if you contact people, you come with a specific question and things that you're clear about.
Don't forget to start that by saying, "Hi, my name is so and so. I hope you're well. I like your work." You know, don't just go, "What pen are you using?" Because that really annoys me. You know, I'm talking from my personal experience. If you do that to me, I block you.
Yes.
Because if you have no respect for you are contacting a stranger and you're not even going to say hello. All you're going to do is ask for a question. You want an answer. I want this from you, as opposed to saying, "Hi, you know, how are you?" You know, so courtesy really goes a long way. I'm really adamant about this because it's rude. It's rude to just demand of us when you are asking us to do a favor for you. All you need to do is say hello, be nice, be courteous, and then ask your question. The worst we can do is me, when I'm busy, I say, "I really can't help you right now. Can you message me back in X number of days or something?" Because, you know, we're not just sitting there waiting for you to message us. You know, we have our own stuff to do and we're happy to help. But if you are discourteous, there is no way you're going to get help.
Yeah, you're most probably gonna get a. Just no. This was
is that off the camera?
No, this is a censored version of a of a middle finger. Just kidding, guys. Come on. We have, so
all right.
We 15 minutes are over. I don't know. Maybe I think there is still a lot to talk about this topic. So we'll continue about how to start calligraphy in next episode. But before we jump to the second part, I want to promote something of myself.
Yay!
It's a product which I got 2 weeks ago. It's a mount for artists. It helps me a lot. It helps me right now. Even I'm using it to record myself, but it's something that I've been waiting to have for a very long time. It's something that helps a lot creators, people like me, calligraphers or artists, to record your videos. It's a super useful mount. You can get a discount for 20% by using Calligraphy Masters as a code. And you can check them on www.arkon.com.
Oh, ARKON mount.
www.arkon.com, 20% off with code Calligraphy Masters.
So the ARKON mounts are excellent. I
Yes.
cannot tell you how amazing they are. I have two.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
This is the best for like seriously. I saw it like
Which one do you have?
the most expensive one, the 140 version.
Do
Yeah,
you have the let me see if I can swing it around here. Do you have this one?
it's the one for a phone with the iPad option.
Do you have the tubular steel one?
Wait. Here, you can see.
Oh yeah, okay, I have that one too.
That's cool. I'm promoting ARKON and I don't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron's made an exceptional product. So this is one of this should only really be a minute, but I think this will take us 15 minutes. It's not cheap, but
you get 20% off.
But apart from getting 20% off, you will never need another mount ever again.
Yes.
So even though it's not cheap, you know, all those stupid little mounts you buy and you're bending them and they break. Okay, add those up and you would have been able to buy one. The great thing about the ARKON mount is, so that there are two versions of them. One is a tubular steel one, which is great for a camera, and the other one is the one that Milan has, which obviously rises up and down, and it has these little segments that bend at different angles. The clip that ARKON is designed for the phone is exceptional. It goes in easily, it comes out easily. You know, you're not dropping your phone and looking like a fool when you're trying to film something. And I have mine clamped to a desk. So I have 4 little arms. You might have 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think 3.
I have 4 because my desk is much further away. I don't have anything clamped to the desk that I write on because it moves. And they have an attachment that goes onto the pole of the mount for your iPad. So there are lots of apps that you can use for this. I'm just about to talk to these guys who run something called Switcher Studios, and they have an app that ARKON works with them on this, and you can set up like a phone here plus your iPad, and you can film from both. Ah, amazing! Yay, ARKON! Brilliant, ARKON mounts.
ARKON forever. 20% off with Calligraphy Masters code.
Okay, I have my own 20% off code, but buy it from Milan.
I didn't. You have also ARKON code?
Of course I have a code. What kind of nonsense are you talking about?
Okay,
take the pen out of your mouth.
You can promote your code in the next episode. But okay, let's jump into the next section, talking about your favorite scripts. So, does it have to be one's favorite script, or
I don't really have a favorite script.
I have.
I have. Okay, well, let's talk. You talk first.
But my favorite.
Make sure you're calling it by the right name.
My favorite script is English roundhand.
Really?
I'm just kidding. It's not a script.
Of course it is. English roundhand is a script.
No, what was the font? English?
Oh, Old English.
Old English. No, I didn't even make the
You're
joke
so
properly.
lucky I'm not there, because I would clout you so hard behind your head.
Oh,
English
but,
roundhand.
okay. Besides the joke, my favorite script is Fracture, of course. I don't know. This is the first that I mean. Maybe I'm influenced by Tues, but part of his video, I actually fall so much in love because I really loved Fracture. And his Fracture, I know it's not traditional Fracture. It's not with the rules and everything, but this is actually what made me fall and what made me want to make stuff like this. I didn't start calligraphy with the idea, oh, I want to make this the traditional correct letters. Of course, I won't now. Yeah, I won't mind to do them, but since day one, I wanted to have this kind of your own fracturish hand, which is so much. It's beautiful for me. I just fell in love with it.
Well, you know, Fracture is the reason I chose to become a scribe as well.
Really?
Yeah, you know, when I was 9, there was this book that I came across. Where is it? David Harris's The Art of Calligraphy. And I opened the book in the bookstore. This was the only book on calligraphy on the whole island of Trinidad, right? And I opened the book, and right where I opened it, it opened onto a double-page spread of a manuscript designed for Maximilian I by Albrecht Dürer. And I still feel what I felt when I opened it, and it was like light from heaven shining on the book with angels singing, and when I think back of that memory, it's so clear. It's like I'm a child again, and I turned to my mother, and this is the other part of the memory. I turned to my mother and I said, that's what I want to do. And she was like, what? She was so confused. I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And she was like, what are you talking about, child? But I knew that this is what I wanted. And I hunted for a facsimile of the manuscript. There are only 900 copies. And I have a facsimile in the studio. I've shown you this manuscript.
Yes, you did.
And when the British Library were having an exhibition of the largest exhibition of Albrecht Dürer's work, I was giving a talk, and they had to borrow my copy because not even the British Library has a copy. And Fraktur is a beautiful script. The thing about Fraktur is it's not a first hand to learn.
Wow.
So when I teach, I generally teach one of two things. I either teach my version of Italic, which is very simplistic, or I teach Textualis Quadrata. So people call Textualis Quadrata black letter or Gothic. It's not. So there's names for the scripts. That understanding the names really helps you to understand what you need.
Maybe this is something good to talk in next episode. Something about this,
Terminology.
Names. Yeah, exactly. I have it actually written on my paper, but yeah, just
which number is it? So Textualis Quadrata is the basis of the scripts in the Gothic period. And it's very regimented. It's simply, a quadrant, a lozenge, a downstroke. That's it. Simple. Simple-ish. Fraktur is essentially quadrata with curves. So instead of coming straight down on the verticals, you have a little curve. And learning quadrata first changes your approach to Fraktur because it really allows you to understand the structure of the script.
So you mean that if I learn now quadrata, my Fraktur will improve?
Yes, tremendously. So I'll send you the link. We did a Fraktur class last month. I'll send you the link for it on Teachable, and just watch it and study along with it, and your Fraktur will change like that.
But that's the thing.
Now the thing about Fraktur is this, right? So Milen's talking about his Fraktur, and it's really important that you understand that word his. He also talked about Tierson's Fraktur. So Tierson is an amazing guy, super talented tattoo artist, brilliant lettering artist, and his Fraktur is beautiful, but it is not historical Fraktur. So Tierson's Fraktur is a contemporary version of Fraktur, which is amazing. But if you're looking at Tierson's Fraktur and that's what you're trying to do, you will struggle, because Tierson has a great understanding of Gothic scripts, and he's gone through that process of Textualis Quadrata into Fraktur. And so Fraktur for me is never a good starting point, because it's too difficult to learn without previously learning Textualis Quadrata. Now, it's great to look at it and go, I want to do that. And this is where the learning starts to, this is where we come back to the how to start calligraphy.
But this is, it's just this just proof. If you remember what I said last week, I'm doing everything the wrong way, and now I just found out that I started with what I'm not
But
supposed
you
to start.
do you not remember when so Milan came to stay with me last year, right? And we were sitting down having dinner at home, and I was just talking with him, and he looks up, and I said, "What's the matter?" And he goes, "You've just changed everything that I knew about calligraphy."
I
And
remember
we,
this.
we would stay up until we stayed up for like 3 or 4 hours talking about calligraphy and what it is and my perception of it. And at the end of, I said, we need to go to bed because I need to work tomorrow. And it's I have a very different experience of calligraphy. And being able to look at Milen's experience of it, it's we're really on two completely opposite ends of the scale. And that's great because it allows you to have a very playful approach to it from Milen's side, but it also allows you to have a very structured approach to it from my side. And Milen's been studying, he's been playing with his Fraktur, and it really is his Fraktur. It's not an historical script, and it's not Tiosun's Fraktur either. It's his version of Fraktur.
Really? Wait, you really think like this?
Yeah, it has very specific idiosyncratic shapes and structures and movements.
That's super nice. So I'm happy because sometimes when I do my Fraktur, I'm influenced by Tios One, and sometimes I think I don't know, but in my head maybe people think it's similar. That's why I don't really upload much. But now hearing this from you, this is so nice.
But like the table that you just redid, right?
Oh,
The table that you just redid was interesting seeing the process because it helped me to see more of how you do the writing. Now, when I teach, what I obviously I work on an historical basis because that's where my passion lies, in historical script work. I do contemporary work too, but you'll mainly see my historical stuff. So when I teach, what I do is I teach Textualis Quadrata, as it's the basis of the scripts in the Gothic period. Then I teach Fraktur. Then I teach this script called Lettre Bourgogne, which is like a French script, which relates to Batard. And from there, I will teach Italian Rotunda. So those are your 4 major scripts in the Gothic period. Now, of course, there are lots of others, So this is Milan just nodding because he didn't attend the lecture that I did on the history of the Gothic scripts, right? But that's okay, Milan. We'll deal with that after this episode.
we have 2 minutes left.
Having this structure is really important. Now, once you have the structure, you should always have an historical script and your version, because your version is not going to be the historical script. Your version is going to have your own little idiosyncrasies, your own little character traits creeping into it. And that's how you develop your own calligraphy. You don't develop it by just looking. You develop it by studying the historical and then playing with it. But having them separate is really important, because then what you develop for yourself can be really quite fascinating.
We have to finish with this part, but I said my favorite script, but I don't recall you telling your favorite script.
So we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Okay, next episode. So is it tools now? Tools again?
So let's go back to tools. Yeah, tools.
Tools.
So in the last episode, we talked about something which really shocked Milan. The fact that not everything will work together.
Yes.
And there are a number of reasons for this. So there are ways around it. So for instance, there is a binder which we use in ink called gum arabic. Gum arabic is the main binder for ink, gouache, and watercolor.
I'm gonna tell you something, and probably, I don't know, either you're gonna laugh or you're gonna kill me. I have 2 bottles of gum arabic for I don't know, it's probably more than 3-4 years now.
Oh, so double check, because it ages, and if it ages too much, it won't work.
The thing is, I never used it because
You didn't know
I,
what to do with it.
I'm too lazy to go on YouTube and see how to use it.
So gum arabic comes from the acacia tree.
Okay.
And they score the tree, like how they make rubber, because they score the rubber trees and they collect the rubber. They
Mm-hmm.
score the acacia tree and they collect the gum. And the gum is an amazing binder. Now, that whenever you have a writing fluid, you always have a pigment, a carrier, and a binder. So the pigment is the color, the carrier is usually water, and the binder is usually gum arabic. There are different types of binders. You could use, egg yolk. You can use
What? Egg yolk?
yeah. Oh yeah, egg yolk's great for a binder. It's what they used to paint with in the Middle Ages. That's why the manuscripts have this glossy look to them.
I have another stupid question, but I'm not English. What's a binder like? What's the purpose of this
So the
binder?
binder binds the pigment to the paper.
Okay.
That's why when you write with something that doesn't have enough binder, you can brush off the pigment. Okay, like when you mix up gold, if you mix too much water in the gold paste,
Yes.
it comes off because there's too much carrier. So there's a proportional scale of binder to carrier to pigment that you need.
Okay,
And
I got it.
that's how it works, right?
I get it.
So gum arabic is the standard binder that we use to bind a pigment. The water is the carrier. So I've come up with this really great sort of system for teaching people about color, about writing. I hate people guessing. If it's one thing that really drives me crazy is somebody saying, "Oh, do it like this," because of course their this is never ever going to be your this. So explaining exactly why something works is really important, because then you're not having people guessing and getting stressed and frustrated. So I've come up with this scale, and this is how it works. So gouache is a dense watercolor, which is essentially pigment with white to make it solid on a surface, plus water as the carrier, and gum arabic as the binder. If you are painting heraldry or you're painting an area and you want a nice solid color, then the liquid needs to be the consistency of single cream. So that's quite thick. So you're using a paintbrush, and what you do when you're painting gouache is you paint the outline and then you flood the color. And as soon as all of the color touches itself, it goes solid, and so it dries as a solid block. So that's painting with gouache.
But do you use also gum arabic in the gouache if you use it, for example, with a broad edge pen, or is it only with a paintbrush?
Okay, so let me get through the consistency first.
Okay.
The next thing is, if you're writing with a broad edge nib, the gouache needs to be thinned to the consistency of full fat milk. So that's much thinner than single cream, but it's still a little bit thickish.
Mm-hmm.
But it flows much more easily. Now, the reason for that is when you write with a broad edge nib, the ink has to flow down the ink channel and across the nib. And if it's too thin, then you won't have enough coverage. But if it's too thick, it'll just clump on the nib. So 100% full fat milk. If you're doing copperplate script, you want the ink to be the consistency of 2% milk or semi-skimmed milk. And if you're doing something like Spencerian script, which requires really thin ink, you want the ink, you want the writing fluid to be the consistency of 0% fat or skimmed milk. So that's really thin and it flows very quickly. So that's how I teach my students about consistency of flow. Now, the other thing that you do is, if you're writing with gouache, don't start writing a big block of text with it. Get the same piece of paper, mix up the gouache, do a little test, and then once it's dry, rub it. If the color comes out, it doesn't have enough binder, so it's not binding to the surface. So it means you need to add a little bit more gum arabic to it. So what we do is we normally take a brush, dip it in the bottle really quickly, down and up, and then it'll drip, and you'll need maybe 2 or 3 drops of that. Don't use a syringe. Don't use a pipette. It's too much. This is your best way to drop, dip, and drop. And then stir with the back end of the brush, not the front. So once you've done that, you might need to add a little bit more water because the gum arabic will make it thicker. So you need a little bit more water to help it flow better. You're not adding more pigment. You're only changing the ratio of binder to carrier to pigment. And so that's how that works.
All right.
So now, once you have that, so that's using gouache to write with. What about if you're using ink? Because some inks are really thin, and if the paper has a little coating or a little gloss on it, the ink might stick to the paper. So a little bit of gum arabic in the ink, like a fountain pen ink, will increase the ink's ability to bind to the paper.
What?
So like a fountain pen ink. So I on my desk I have some Tom Norton's walnut ink.
Okay.
It's very, very thin.
Yes.
So it's like the consistency of 0% fat or skimmed milk. It slides off the nib very, very quickly. It's great for Spencerian script or really fast. Sort of my copperplate script is quite quick. So I need the ink to flow as quickly as I'm working.
Okay,
But,
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
Like
if
I want to write quick with a pointed nib, which should be the nib, or it doesn't matter? It's not the nib, or is it the ink?
So that comes back to the ink nib paper question. Because for instance, a blue pumpkin nib, so I very rarely use blue pumpkin nibs because the thing that I love the most about a pointed nib is the fineness of the hairlines.
Yes.
And a blue pumpkin nib doesn't produce really fine hairlines. But it's also about the relationship of the thickness. What you're looking for?
I'm looking for my nibs, but I can't find them. I have like a bunch of this Gillot 3.
Gillot 303?
Yeah, probably they're like silver
They're
color.
very, very, they're silver.
I mean, the color. I mean, they're not golden lookish. Like
If
some
they're
nibs.
silver, if you have Gillot 303 nibs which are silver, you only got them from me because they don't sell those.
I think I got them from
I'm the
Amazon.
only one. I'm the only person who has the silver 303s.
No,
because
I got them from Amazon or Scribblers.
Then they would be blue.
No. I'll search them later. I can't find them right now.
The silver 303s, I have them from Gillot because I was testing something that was happening with the nib, and they're silver because they're not fired as yet. When they're fired, they turn blue. So that's the blue ones are on the market. You will never get a silver one.
But I don't know what's wrong with mine. I've used my saliva.
Yeah.
And but probably I don't know. Maybe the ink was not correct. I tried with watercolor and my nibs. They did. I just left them because there was some.
So what I do when I prepare a nib, which I mean that's a whole other kettle of fish. When I prepare a nib, I spit on a piece of tissue.
Yes.
And I leave the nib in the saliva, or I just.
For how long time? Yeah, I do it because I've seen it from you. But how long? Does
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Oh, maybe that's.
So usually, let me get a new nib so I don't get ink in my mouth because that seems to be
that's my job.
Everybody, yeah, that's your job. So so this is a Hunt 99. So what I normally do is when I'm writing, I would lick the tip of the nib.
Careful.
But I'm not normally talking.
No, but yeah, just if somebody does it,
I leave it there, and I'm setting up my table.
But
so
I don't recommend this doing people. Please don't do it, please.
Don't shove it in your mouth because you can stick yourself. I suggest you put it on a piece of tissue and spit on it. the saliva will get rid of it. And people are like, oh, but it's spit. It's your spit.
Come on,
You swallow it every 30 seconds. I mean, seriously, come on. You know, the reason why I tell people not to use anything else is the great thing about saliva is it's always there.
And it's free.
And it's free, right? People are like, oh, but I use Windowline, or I use that. The Windowline will destabilize the ink. If you don't ever stick it in a potato, because if you stick a sharp nib into a potato, it will damage the tip. The tines will get damaged and the nib will not do what it's supposed to do. So this nonsense about sticking nibs in potatoes, I mean, really go and cook the potato instead. You'll get a much better use for it.
Right, nibs.
So you have a nib, you spit on it. The saliva is slightly acidic. So it takes a little bit longer. Acids, you know, any kind of cleaning solvent can also affect the metal. Never, ever, under any circumstance, put a nib through a flame.
Oh,
Because if you put the nib in a flame, they've already heated the nibs.
but who
The
came
nib
up with
has-
this stupid idea? I've seen like so many places and people are doing this. Why? Who did this?
Oh, you know the funniest thing about people and nibs? I was teaching a class once, and I didn't think to tell the students don't put the nib in a flame. Somebody in the class was holding the nib and put.
Oh my god.
And I'm standing at the front of the class, and I said that is a very stupid idea. And she was like, "This is how I always do it." And I said, "Okay, you continue holding a piece of metal while you're heating it, and see what happens." And she started chatting with me, and then she goes, "Oh," because of course it's metal, it gets hot, you know. But anyway, don't put the nib in a flame. The nib has already been heated. If you heat it again, and you know you heat it until it's red hot, and you put it in the ink and it goes, you've just changed the temp of the nib. So the tip will wear away very quickly. The reason why you shouldn't put a nib in a flame is this. When you put, especially a pointed nib, when you put a pointed nib in a flame, the tip is it heats up faster than you can see it heating up. So by the time you can see it hot, it's already ruined.
Right.
So never ever put your nibs in a flame. You know, I spit on mine, I leave them there, I go and get a glass of water and do whatever I need to do. I come back, I set my desk up, I take them out, I clean them, and then I put it into the holder. And it'll work. It wouldn't work on something like a G-nib because they are really coated. But we'll deal with that some other time.
Yeah.
So, you know, with your nibs, people say to me, "Oh, but I brush it with toothpaste." Are you gentle enough to know that you've not damaged the tines? So, you know, it's all about care with the nib, and the saliva is the safest thing.
It's all about
It's
being gentle.
yours, it's free, you know, just be happy with your nibs. Happy nibs equal happy writing.
Happy calligraphy, happy people, and happy listeners and watchers. Thank you guys for being thank you guys for being with us for another episode. How to say this? Okay, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. It's been fun to have another episode. If I don't know where you listen or watch us, follow, subscribe, comment, everything, share with your friends, with your family. This is a joke, but yeah, thank you guys.
And just remember, wherever you're following, if you can leave a comment. If you can't leave a comment where you're following, then follow us on Instagram. There's a Nibs link, Nibs podcast on Instagram. Please leave a message and tell us what you want us to talk about, and we're happy to listen to your questions and present some information on that.
Yes, and that's it for today, guys. We talk to you. See you next week again. And as always, Paul.
Keep writing.
Yes. Keep writing.